Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today we will cover a game from the women's section of the chess Olympiad in India. And this game is very special because the player with the white pieces, Oliwia Kiolbasa, is actually the only player with a perfect score. After Gukesh today draw against Vaishali R. She's playing with white against the strong Indian prodigy Vaishali, and let's see what happened in this game. The game starts with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to b5 going for the Royal Lopez. a6 by black, and now bishop to a4, bishop to c5, and now c3. White is preparing the break in the center with d4, so here Vaishali goes knight to e7, and now d4, e capture on d4, c capture on d4, and bishop to b4 check. Knight to c3 blocking, and now immediately d5 challenging the white center. And here white can go e5, try to take as much space as possible, and this is actually a very interesting try for advantage. But here the Polish player simply castled, and after d capture on e4, knight capture on e4, short castle, she goes a3, trying to kick away the bishop and maybe later expand with b4, and now bishop back to d6. h3 taking the g4 square from the black bishop, and now bishop to f4. The knight is attacked, so rook to e1 defending the knight, now bishop back to g6, bishop to g5, and now f6. And here it actually looks like this move is just a waste of time because now you'll have to go back with your bishop. But this is actually a very good move because now this diagonal is very weak and the black king might be in some danger. But here first white exchanges on d6, and after queen capture on d6, bishop back to h4, bishop to f7, and now bishop back to g3. White is attacking the black queen, so queen back to d7, now rook to c1, rook on a to d8, and now b4, taking as much space as possible on the queen side. Knight to f5 attacking the bishop, and now bishop to f4. King to h8, removing the black king from this weak diagonal, and also now the bishop can rear out to g6, and now queen to d3, b5 by black, bishop to c2, and now bishop to g6. Black is threatening a discovery on the queen, so queen to c3, and here black decides to liquidate the position and go into an endgame, and simply captured with knight on d4. And after knight capture on d4, knight capture on d4, bishop capture on g6, h capture on g6, queen capture on c7, and now rook to f7, queen capture on d7 and rook capture on d7, bishop to e3 and knight to f5. The bishop is attacked, so bishop to b6, and now rook to b8, rook to c6 defending the bishop, and now rook to d3, rook to a1, and now knight to e7, rook to e6 counter attacking against the knight, and now knight to d5. And here simply white goes back with his bishop to c5. Now we can see that a6 pawn is attacked, and you can defend it with your rook, but Vaishali didn't want to play passively and simply tried to go active with her knight, and she played knight to c3. And it turned out to be a mistake. Here what you should do is simply to go rook to a8 and defend the pawn, and after for example a4, b capture on a4, rook capture on a4, now simply knight to c7 defending the pawn, and after rook to c6 attacking the knight, now rook to d7, bishop to d6 attacking the knight, and now simply knight to b5. And here white doesn't have time to collect the a6 pawn because the bishop is attacked. And if you go back with your bishop, the knight just go back to c7. And of course black's position is still somewhat worse, but at the very least, material is even. If you go back to what happened in the game after knight to c3, rook capture on a6, knight to a4 attacking the bishop, now simply rook to d6, knight capture, pawn capture, and now rook to c3. White goes c6, and now rook to c8, rook to b1, and now rook capture on c6, rook capture on c6, rook capture on c6, and rook capture on b5. And here we reach a position where white is up a pawn, and the king side is completely neutralized. And this is actually still holdable with perfect play, as you might know that rook endgames have a tendency to be drawish, but it's not always easy to prove it on the board. Here black should give a check in order to put his rook behind the pawn, and this is what happened. Rook to c1 check, king to h2, and rook to a1, rook to a5 defending the pawn, and now g5, king to g3, and now rook to a2. Black is trying to keep the white king tied to the f2 pawn, and now king to f3, king to h7, and now king to e3, king to g6, and rook to a7, king to f5, and now g3, king to e5, king to f3, and now king back to f5. And the white here starts mobilizing his pawn, and he goes a4, rook to a3 check, and now king back to g2, king back to g6, and now a5, king to h6, and now a6, king to g6, and rook to a8. And here we can see that black is just shuffling his king back and forth because there is simply nothing that she can do. Her position is passive. The black king should stay defending the pawns, and also the black rook should stay in the a file guarding the a pawn. King to f5 and now king to f1. Rook to a2 and now a7. King back to g6 and now king to e1. King to f7 and now h4. And here black makes a decisive mistake. She goes back to g6 with her king. And this allows for a very nice move to win this game. You can of course pause the video and try to find it if you want. Here white goes h5. And here you simply cannot capture the pawn, because after rook check, white just makes a new queen and black is lost. So here Vaishali goes back to f7 and now f4. G capture on f4, G capture on f4 and f5. And here the position is lost because the white king has a clear path toward this weak f5 pawn, and you cannot defend it with f6 because white has this move rook to f8 check and the a pawn will queen. And of course now the white king is cut off on the second rank, but this is just an illusion. The white king will simply attack the black rook, and when the rook moves or gives a check, the white king will be free to go after the f5 pawn. And as we're going to see in the game, white here goes king to d1, rook to a1 check, and now king to e2, rook to a2 check and king to f3, rook to a3 check, king to g2, rook to a2 check, king back to g3. Black goes rook to a4, and here you don't want to go to h4 directly because black will take with a check, and that's why here white goes king to h3, rook to a3 check and king to h4, rook back to a4 and now king to g5, rook to a5 and now simply h6, g capture on h6 and king capture on h6, rook to a6 check and king back to g5. And here unfortunately black must give up his pawn because you can't defend it with your rook because of rook to h8, and after the rook captures, rook to h7 check and simply the black rook drops. So instead here black goes king to g7 and now simply king capture on f5, rook back to a1. Black is trying to put his rook on the first rank and try to go for vertical checks, and now king to e5, rook to e1 check, king to d4, rook to d1 check, king to e3, rook to e1 check, and now simply king to d2 and there are no more checks. Rook to a1 and now f5, rook to a2, king to c3, rook to h3 and now king to b2, rook to a6 and now simply f6. And now you simply resign the game because simply there is nothing you can do. If you capture with your rook, after rook to d8, white will just make a new queen. And if you capture with the black king, simply rook to f8 check and white will make a new queen and black is just lost. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Please, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell to get our latest videos. Thank you guys for watching and see you in the next video.